reconciliation and peace. What peace idea is attached to William? Yes, remember this guy, I think it was on the 7th of the 7th in 17 maybe, when he was doing this business with the peace sign. Here he is getting the knighthood. No surprise there at all, is there? Well, this is a very, very interesting picture indeed that they're putting up about this tarot business with William. And as we can see here, the XIX, year 19, and the sun blazing out of his head here. And the 3 ace idea, 135. The inner angle of the octagon, so therefore you've got 3 on 8. Of course, he will be 38. And interesting, the one they're showing here is the cups. A couple of cards hidden. Just look at the different decks and pick this up. But so I might come back with another video on this particular photo. So this is way interesting indeed. A little bit of a 9. The other way around, 11 hanging in the corner here as well. The mirror idea, it's 11, 9, 11, 21 we sort of get at as well, 19. No surprise there, is it, at all? Here's the man of peace. Yes, well, interesting how it signifies beginnings in the area of social and emotional life. Well, they're all locked indoors, certainly beginning indeed in 440, 400 and 4,000, and certainly we've been seeing a lot of this 40 wrapped up in this event, and also the 400 I've noticed. They're always 4, of course, so all the numbers mean something, folks. So people go, oh, you say every number. Yeah, we do. But numbers have different meanings. And the Ace of Cups, certainly an interesting card too, because it does portray, of course, the Holy Grail idea. That relates heavily to the idea of William, of course. And joy, and that's the word Sarah uttered when they were asking for the one word. She looks more like Crowley than anybody else. And when you consider that she was 9/11, it's quite interesting now, isn't it? 5 streams, and that's what they're telling at the moment, of course. Can't get out, can't get proper sight, smells, hearings, and taste, can you now? And certainly we just want touch. Very, very strange little scene we find ourselves in. What can I say? And then look at the reverse meaning. The connection to another is being blocked. Fear of intimacy. Look at all this, folks. Straight in the script. And of course, Alistair Crowley had much to do with tarot cards. But there are others. It's been a long time thing that they really like their tarot, that's for certain. Yeah, so William playing with falcons, and of course I've covered before the old Eon of Horus, maybe leading into the Eon of Mart. There's a bit of confusion with Crowley about Eons of Horus and Eons of Mart, but certainly I'm thinking Horus comes first and leads into Mart. Well, they both sort of coexist as one Eon, too. Interesting what it said about Isis being the one on nature, and Cyrus on God, and now it's on man, the individual. Stuff they showed for this prize there, and the picture I just showed you. Dear to me is the mark idea, of course, with the scale. There's our rank, of course, which we've seen so many places. And look, one of our little numbers here, right here. Anyone that knows this stuff knows this. But anyway, a lot of people don't, and they realise how connected William is to the falcon. Yes, and when peace comes, eh? The war's with the NHS superheroes. Yes, it's strange we've got something about Robert the Bruce, because I was just telling a friend of mine how important he is in a lot of the thinking of these things. And look, Hopes and Robert the Bruce here, divided loyalties of Bruce's barons. April 4 here, pretty interesting, about William Henry Harrison, you know, when you're talking about Harry and William there, and peace symbol was first displayed. Yes, that is very interesting indeed, April 4. There was a guy banging on about April 4, so it certainly is a pretty interesting day. Mary Shrine, for peace and solace. Yeah, here's about him wanting to be the pilot again, and somebody saying it wouldn't be possible. That's his lament. He won't be able to do it. The heartbreak, see? And there was another story, Diana would be heartbroken about the rift. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers every time. Very popular theme, isn't it now? Pops up again and again. And thanks to the people who support this channel. Very much respect. Anyway, I'll look at things and get back with a video maybe in a couple of days now. I've done one on my other channel and one on here, and I think you should find it both interesting. Alright then, thanks folks.
The spacewalk today marks the 228th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades, and the first spacewalk for Expedition 63. This will be the 7th spacewalk for Station Commander Chris Cassidy. His 6 previous spacewalks bring his total time to 31 hours and 14 minutes. The spacewalk today will also be the 7th for NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. His previous 6 spacewalks bring his career total time to 37 hours and 33 minutes. This will be the 7th spacewalk for Station Commander Chris Cassidy. His 6 previous spacewalks bring his total time to 31 hours and 14 minutes. The spacewalk today will also be the 7th for NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. His
Wild, our country, put a man on the moon. We're going back. This is the moon. Flat, desolate.
The surface is
Moon. Flat, desolate.
the surface.
Moon. Flat, desolate.
The surface is actually a complex topography.
Okay, thank you, Bill Decide. Moon. Flat, desolate.
The surface is actually a complex topography.
Okay. It's cute. Mission accomplished. We will not only plant our flag and leave our footprint, we will establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond. This eventual mission to Mars and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond. And perhaps someday to many worlds beyond.
It was the weirdest day.
Hey there, Georgie girl, swinging down the street so fancy free. No.
Yes, someone you can be, and life is a reality.
So who was that guy getting so much attention from the media this morning? By George? That was John, as in John F. Kennedy Jr. And to sort this out just a little bit further, George is the name of a magazine he started. Bertha Coombs has details.
The premiere issue of George looks red hot, with supermodel Cindy Crawford on the cover and a lot of big-name advertisers inside. Planning to make the bi-monthly magazine a monthly advertising, and already they're planning to make the bi-monthly magazine a monthly venture after the first year. In Lower Manhattan, I'm Bertha Coombs, Channel 7.
Election has been very cunningly concealed in the folds of the Union Jack. Ships of the West Indies merchant fleet were surprised by the French off the Azores. Many more, 200 tons, all lives lost, name, total loss. Pull yourself together, Book. This is an emergency. Pull yourself together, Book. This is an emergency.
And Chris, are you hearing Bob fine? Is it just me that's garbled?
It was just you on the last transmission. Now you're fine.
Okay, great.
EV1 is in 7 for cooling.
Copy, Chris.
Will ensure America's space program once again leads and inspires all of humanity.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for the submission on XYZ Code. Let's get the ball rolling.
EV1 is in 7 for cooling.
Copy, Chris. Hey, Jeff. We'll be sending through 2 quotes for you shortly. We were able to get both options with a
Transuranium. Transuranium. Transuranium.
Have been conducting experiments that had characterized some elements which they had refined from natural orders, and actually they started chemistry as an experimental science. Then they became characterized some elements which they had refined from natural orders, and actually they started chemistry as an experimental science.
These two images, impossible. One has to be a fraud at least, but I tell you now, do either of them look real? Just CGI artwork. We should have a lot better imagery of our globe Earth from space, seeing there's so many satellites, so they say. There are no satellites because, as I said before, rockets can't steer. Rockets are a fraud in themselves, and I've covered this many times. And look at this Africa picture. Now, anyone who wants to deny this, they're just not thinking. Same size, and look how big Africa looks here. And something funny about the Saudi Arabia too. Look at the wide bottom here, it's much narrower. But look at the difference. This can't be. That's impossible. And finally, look at this one here. Look how little we can see here of South America, and not much of India there, covered by cloud conveniently. But when we scroll down here, we see there's another image, and look, clearly India, a lot more South America, same size, look. Pretty much funny shape, this one here. But, you know, there's just not good images of Earth from space, and they all vary. They vary just totally, yet they're all Earth from space. Look at it here, taking up all of this. Well, people would know that I've made many videos about Antarctica and showing that it's truly a fantastic place, and nothing that we've seen isn't fantastic. The tours, the McMurdo, the Barati, Halley, everybody seems to have a station there, even the Ukraine has one. So that's enough to tell you how fantastic it all is. McMurdo with its reactor, they decommission when you leave it running, if it ran that long, because it's all fantastic. So what is really down there? And I would suggest that the most plausible idea, because I know a guy who's been a chef at the Mawson or Casey base, one or the other, and he also told me, interesting enough, that he flew from one base to the other, and he flew across sea the whole way, because he said, they don't fly inland. So now we see some of those bases miles inland, so that negates that straight away, doesn't it? So on the fringe, but the fringe to me is, this is Heard Island. Now, nobody goes in this zone. Now, if there's one island there, there's probably a few more. And that's all it is, because there's only activity in Antarctica pretty much down the south of South America, to do with Australia and New Zealand. Seems to be a lot lacking with Africa, except that French thing that I showed you possibly, but that looked pretty strange too, and Amsterdam Island. So we really can't tell what we're looking at there either. There seems to be a bit more evidence of Heard and Macquarie. I wish I'd known about this. I went and visited my cousin about 5 years ago and stayed with her in Hobart, and it's got a lot of maritime stuff, and there's a fair bit of Antarctic stuff and ideas there. Of course, it's in the area, and if it was now, I could ask more questions. Of course, I was asking some, but I would have a different appreciation. That is for certain. I can tell you, I've seen penguins and seals, and it's certainly cold down there. Somebody said to me once, Australia's tropical. Yeah, well, not in the south. Tasmania even gets snow sometimes in the middle of summer, albeit only lasts a few hours. But it definitely gets a snow cover up in winter. They go skiing there, and of course New Zealand famous for its ski slopes. So we know it's cold down there. So there's my point. Now this island would get all snow on it too, Heard Island. and any island down there naturally in the winter, as long as there's enough land and it's, the sea keeps things from having snow a bit, with precipitation, etc. It washes it away, etc. So there's a strange balance here going on. So that's why I don't believe a lot of real icy things, except maybe glaciers that do carve maybe small amounts of ice, but they're certainly not creating things like this in the ocean. That's another matter too. So they're frauding all this up. As we know, we've got Thunderbird, Admiral Bird, there's another part of it. We've got tours down there, as I said. Just everything they tell you, you can't trust one thing. So I suggest possibly a few islands, set off South America, off Australia, and then you have this realm here, which no doubt big surf, big rolling swells, and getting colder and colder, and then you might get to a point where it freezes up. And maybe these people can play a little bit in this zone. But the further they go here, of course, there's no support. It's only a bit of ice, high tide level. It's not a big wall. It's just the ocean is frozen, so it would freeze at sort of high tide and king tide level, even, because one time there'd be a king tide, the water would go over the top of this and freeze, you might say. That'd be one thing I could think of. But then I've drawn these two lines, and what they're simply, the sun may only ever get to here, so then even if we can permeate so far, maybe it just gets too cold for all mechanical devices. You're going to do jump out and walk in a spacesuit, and then the darkness may start. Maybe this air being so cold, not letting light through, big possibility. You might have this, that's why I've got a grey marker, the grey area, and go further and further, and then you come to the black. Reminds me of what they say, with the ocean, and it certainly does get dark in the ocean, and this would be the same thing. And simply, it's just too far from here to get there and back, so we're totally limited. The cold, just all our mechanical devices shut down at a certain temperature. It would be near impossible to go much further, and what a place to go once you're into the dark. Imagine if it is, like I'm saying, totally dark, cold space. The further you go, so you're never going to get to whatever may be here. And no one is ever going to get there. It's a bit like space, as in there's no outer space, as we know. It's confined space of some sort, and we're confined to maybe 50,000 feet, because we know the 100,000 feet and that we've seen with the guy jumping out at 135, the inner angle number, all of that. Just you can say that's fantastic. So we know very little about very deep in the ocean, as I've shown with these little subs. I'll have to look around for little bells they might drop. That might be something you can go a bit deeper in. It's got cables, you can pull it up with a big motor. But anything self-propelled is going to find it very hard to get up from. Somebody suggested 30 feet for a submarine, those ones for tourists. That might be a possibility. They use a lot of power to power themselves through at a certain depth. They take in a bit of water. I can see them sort of working somewhat small. But the bigger type ones that you see, they can only just go below the sea, and not for long they'd want to come back up, I would think. Very dangerous piece of equipment, that. Definitely a show pony idea, and how it was in World War I and II. Fantastic all round there. Right back to the turtle. Everything fantastic. So the idea of going underneath this is garbage too, of course. So that's why we don't know anything much past this zone. Maybe here. Certainly really starting to get into trouble here. And, no one's probably even been to here, let alone how far this goes. Who would know? And people can say, oh yeah, well, they haven't been there. That's the problem. So we've just got to face what we know and the facts in front of us. And I'm saying that's a plausible idea, because you see that they're showing you all this stuff. Well, why are they doing that? Of course, to sell the idea there's a continent down there and it's at the South Pole. This isn't very sexy. This is a give-up job. It's them admitting that's something they don't know about, you might say, maybe. Just a thought. They're my thoughts on the matter. Now, this image here is no better than this image here, as you can see. Sort of this what it might look like with frozen ocean, except in flatter. This here appears to be on some sort of ridge. This is giving you an idea of what real depth and whatever here. This is all it's probably standing near a wall, or they've just taken a picture somewhere in Canada and then they put this here, because look, I mean, it's too easy done. The guy sitting on the toilet here, I mean, it's about the level of it. All this stuff like this, you know, it's just endless. See? Nothing is real. Look at this one here with this boat in here. It just doesn't look safe to me, does it? It's just this bit. That should tell you. It is fantastic. Always got to have the animals. It's a foam there, TT on there, look at that. Oh, here they are in the snowmobiles, riding snowmobiles. Where do they get their petrol from? How far can you go out in this? But this is, you know, nothing's right, see? Look, it's all frozen here, but, you know, there's hardly anything here, just a little patch there. Nothing adds up at all, ever. So, just got to throw it in the dustbin. Oh, what's happened here? Oh, they're coming on now. Look at this bit here. Who's taking this photograph? Is that the same thing? Yeah, look. Wag the dog. And of course, it's a real handy thing all this, because, you know, look, Kitty's crying about the penguins that are falling in the sea or something. So I'll tell you what, we are in a strange, well, it's obvious, isn't it? Media, it's terrible. Look at this. Yeah, sure, you know. Look at those flags. There's nothing like that down there, and as far as any 24-hour cameras go, you can just throw that straight out the window. Look at this. That should just tell you. I don't need to say anything, do I? Look. Everything's the same with it. It's just like a cartoon. Fantastic. Yes, you never know what they're going to pull next out of this area. Let's look at this bit here. Oh yeah, the frozen lost city. There you go. And all these people swimming down there. When it was truly like this, you wouldn't be swimming there. Turn into an icicle in seconds. Oh, look. A bit of a nudie swim. Oh. Look, it's the Mediterranean. Yes, these events in Antarctica will leave you speechless. They certainly will. What do you think of that, folks? Do you think this is fantastic or what? I think it truly is. There you go. Fantastic scenery of Antarctica. Oh, I thought I'd save the best image for last. Does anyone really think that that's not fantastic? That is truly amazing, fantastic. That's just brilliant. It's like a bird. Look, the swan. Fair dinkum. Oh, here we go. We're camping in Antarctica. Isn't it funny none of these people film their exploits and put them on YouTube? Come on, campers. I want to see some really good footage of this particular camp. If you're on it, release your footage, please. It looks like houses in the background here, I thought. Painted white. Oh yeah, that's a great defence for the old Newcos. Well, black and gold, and you can tell from this here. Fantastic. Oh, he's back again. It's always the same one. Oh, look at this little one here. All the flags. They go all the way down there, they raise the flags, as you do. The fantastic Roman history of Britain. And here we have a pharos. This is inside the Dover Castle complex. This is the original Roman Dover lighthouse, said to have been built in AD 50. And you see these red things here, these are tiles, they're saying, must have been on the roof of this. When they built this here, which is supposed to be 600 AD, 1000 AD, and then restorations in 1862 and 1888. A lot of 8 going on, of course it's not gone. But this was the oldest, or meant to be one of the oldest buildings still surviving today in England. A Roman build. But it's so quaint, isn't it, that the construction here and the construction here are nearly identical. Of course, these guys just copied this. They're saying something. This was one of the other pharoses. There was another one here 1,000 metres away. There's all sorts of conjecture as to this matching business, you see. This is the Roman lighthouse, over 2,000 years old. Reminds me sort of Monty Python. I wonder where they used Monty. Was that the castle of Monty Python? You could throw a cow through there. So very